Once again, we are ranking the schedules here at Mark Rogers TV, looking at college football teams in the Power 5 conferences, including Army, Notre Dame, and BYU. So that totals 67 teams. We will be ranking them 67 all the way up to number 1. So just to enlighten you on the process that we're using, and certainly chime in, we are ranking the conferences first and foremost. Then we are taking the rankings within each conference, 1 through 14 in the SEC, the Big Ten in the ACC, 1 through 12 in the Pac-12, and 1 through 10 in the Big 12. So we're ranking within the conference, and we're also ranking the conferences. So then we take, let's say, the number 1 seeds as we see it in the 5 major conferences, and we have them ranked as such. Clemson 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, Oklahoma 4, and Stanford 5. Then we are ranking 2 seeds, 3 seeds, 4 seeds on down the line, just to give us a perspective on how we see these teams playing out in 2016. All right. Let's keep in consideration the teams don't play themselves. So in the Big 12, for example, this is the easiest and the truest example. In the Big 12, they play 9 conference games. So the 10 teams play 9 conference games. Therefore, they play everyone. So everyone, to a certain extent, has the same exact conference schedule. It makes things easy on me because I just look at the non-conference games. However, Oklahoma does not play itself. Kansas plays Oklahoma instead of playing itself. Therefore, I'm basing the schedule difficulty based on how I have ranked the teams within the Big 12. So the schedules are separated by 1/10, if you follow me. You don't play yourself. So if you're an extremely good team, you miss yourself on the schedule. If you're one of the lesser teams in the conference, you have to play that better team. Most crucial are the cross-division games. Look at the ACC and the SEC in particular. They only play 8 conference games. They've got 14 teams in the conference. Therefore, there are 13 other teams in the conference. They only play 8 of them. They miss 5 teams. It's crucial to conference schedule strength as to what teams you hit and which teams you miss. Look at Alabama. Look at its competitors within the SEC Western Division. Some of them have the tougher teams in the Eastern Division, i.e. Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida. The other teams may get a break in playing a Vanderbilt or a Kentucky. Very crucial in terms of who you play in the other division. For the Big Ten, a little less crucial this year because for the first time in many years, the Big Ten is going to a 9-game conference schedule. So still missing 4 teams on the schedule within the conference. The East and the West are at least playing 3 of the non-division teams. And then, of course, next to the Big 12, the Pac-12 has the truest conference schedule because there's only 12 teams, and they play a 9-game conference schedule. Therefore, they play 9 of the other 11 teams. So there is some consideration to be given of the 2 teams that teams within the Pac-12 do not play. Do you miss a USC, a UCLA, a Stanford, and Oregon? Or do you miss getting to play in Oregon State and that easy win, or to a lesser extent, a Colorado, to be considered in reviewing the Pac-12? The home and away, very crucial as well, especially if you're considering that most teams play 1 really difficult non-conference game of the 3 or 4 non-conference games scheduled. Do you play that at a neutral site, i.e. Alabama, USC, or do you play on the road or at home? Ohio State at Oklahoma, for example. And then also the spacing of the games, very crucial here. The spacing of the difficult games. Do you play a killer 4 or 5 game stretch, or do you play 4 or 5 really tough opponents, but you've got them spread out pretty well where you can prepare for your toughest games with 2 and 3 week intervals in between playing lesser opponents? And then, of course, the out-of-conference games, once again, is crucial. Some of the more difficult conference out-of-conference schedules include 2 difficult games. Look at USC. They play Alabama and Notre Dame, and they also have that 3rd out-of-conference game against Utah State, a very capable Aggies program. That's one of the more difficult out-of-conference, probably the most difficult out-of-conference schedule in the country. USC, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Utah State, very difficult for the Trojans. Baylor, on the opposite end, plays no one. You can expect to see them very early in my schedule rankings. Mark Rogers TV schedule rankings. That's the setup. That's the process. That's the structure. Would love to hear from you. And we will soon be releasing our rankings, 67 all the way up to number 1.